Yo, what is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 69 of my Tracksuit to the Top series here with Lewis FC. Today I've got for you guys our Season 8 review. Now, before I get into this, just a little bit of a preface. Sorry there wasn't a video yesterday. You may notice by the fact I'm apologising for yesterday's lack of an upload that I'm recording the day that you're now seeing this. If you watch this the first day it's up. Basically, as you guys will know, I recorded in advance. Came to yesterday to upload the end of season review that I'm about to record, and I couldn't find it on my hard drive. Now, I don't know what happened to the recording, where it went. If anyone sees it, let me know, but it means I'm re-recording this. So if there's anything that I covered that was covered either in the next or previous episode, forgive me. I have watched them through to attempt to re-familiarise myself with the situation I was in at the end of this season. The other thing that I want to make a quick mention of, and I will do probably a separate video later on today, but if you've been watching any of my FM League videos, or even if you haven't, it's basically been a knockout tournament in FM between Football Manager YouTubers. The final is being streamed tonight on Twitch at 7 PM GMT, so that's English time. Hopefully you can work that out for yourself. There'll be a link down in the description to Dr. Benji's YouTube channel. Stream starting at 6:30. Official kickoff is at 7. But if you want to just stick your head in early, get hyped in the chat and all that good stuff, it would be good to see you guys there, and I will be on the stream. So anyway, hopefully I'll see you guys for that. And now, let's actually get into today's episode. So, as I mentioned, apologies for the fact that I've had to go back to record this. As a result, I feel a little bit unfamiliar, and with these end of season reviews, I feel like every time I'm like, oh, let me know if there's something I've forgotten. Well, there's going to be something I've forgotten or something that I recap that's already happened. So we're just going to go with the flow, I guess. So anyway, this was the end of season review for 2022, our 8th season, of course, our 2nd season in the Premier League. And as 1,000,001 of you guys mentioned, we did qualify for the Champions League. Not the Champions League, the Europa League. And as you can see there by the league table, we now have the Europa League symbol next to our name, something that wasn't there at the end of last episode. So this is the last season where we're a little team. I mean that in the nicest possible way. Right now, but with us reaching Europe, my aim has got to be to reach Europe every year. And there's going to be players we're looking at to, of course, achieve that. So anyway, looking at our squad for this season, looking at Matthew Lewis to begin with, 23 years old, this guy. Of course, we signed him permanently for £5 million. And this year he had a good year, got 20 goals in 22, although it is worth noting he was out for 3 months this year. So that is a little bit of a concern. Another injury like that could really hit his development hard. And hit us hard because, as you can see, his goals were massive for us. Elsewhere on the goal scoring front, Kelechi Iheanacho, the Nigerian, getting a few goals to his name this year. Not as many as last, but still a pretty healthy contribution. Of course, he had his own injuries. And Beto Deloney rounding up our top 3 goal scorers in our squad. A player who you guys heavily criticised in the last episode. He did improve towards the end of the season. He did start to step things up. He did get a decent amount of assists. He wasn't a great player, and I know I'm not going to loan him back because he just wasn't good enough. But maybe a position that we need to look at, the striker area. Elsewhere in the side, Batagelli doing well. Alex Samuel, fan favourite, got 6 goals in 6 starts in 21 sub appearances. It's okay, he got a hat-trick, of course, in a quite memorable Arsenal win, or Arsenal game. I think it finished 4-4. But yeah, he's been okay. He's been okay. So looking at the assists front, Sonogo had a great year. Unfortunately, though, he broke his leg. And that's not good. He's out for 5 weeks to 2 months, but it was a big leg break, 5 to 6 month injury. He hasn't declined as much as perhaps you'd be worried about him declining, but he's not the player he once was, and it's going to be tricky and interesting, I guess, to see if he can bounce back from that. Elsewhere, Batagelli in the midfield contributed a lot. The Argentine joined us this year for £400,000, of course, signed him on a pre-contract, then negotiated with his club a kind of sell-out clause, and they agreed to a very low clause, and he's done a good job for us, the Argentine. Elsewhere in the squad, Juan Carlos Leon, a player who came in with a bit of a fanfare, big transfer, record transfer, I believe, and he's done okay for us. He's still very young, he's still only 20, he still looks incredible attribute-wise, but he does need to start performing in it, and whether or not that comes with him maturing is yet to be seen. Despite his lack of assists and stuff, I do believe, and I hope I'm going to be right here, but if we go to the player stats, Yeah, you can see here, he was top of the key passes chart. So despite not getting many assists, or as many as you might expect, he has contributed for us. And it is worth also noting that he has covered the 4th largest distance in the league. Pedrera, our young fullback, also in that kind of rank. Of course, this year saw a shift of system to the 4-3-1-2, and it's a system that served us quite well. A system that will be familiar to you guys who watch the Oxford save, and I'm going to be persisting with this. Whether or not it changes over time remains to be seen. I feel like we lack a bit of width perhaps, but for the squad that we've got at the moment, it suits us very well. We'll have to see on that front if things change. Looking at the finances, you can see £19 million in the bank, good prize money. The fact we're in Europe's going to help as well with a little bit of extra TV money. You can see for this coming year, £35 million is the transfer budget remaining. Whether or not we end up actually having that much to spend, I'm not entirely sure. If I show you the transfers, there's probably a few here that are going to happen. But if we look at the outs for this year, so you guys can see the big sales. You can see Mijelovic was obviously a big one. Borthwick Jackson and Casper De Noor, they were the 3 kind of notable ones. I did release Neven. I don't know if I even talked about that. We brought him in last year and I was going to play him for a few games, and then he decided that he wanted to leave. So we released him and let him go to Horsham YMCA. So he's going to be living it up in the YMCA right there. Anyway, looking at the rest of our squad, of course, we have got a few players coming in. Reitmeier joined us, the young German, but we have got a few other guys like Mitchell, who came in for £1.4 million. I feel like this guy has a future. He's got great physicals, good defending. If he can improve there, that'd be great. He's the kind of player who, if he was a bit taller, he might be able to play centre-back, but unfortunately for us, he is a very, very small player. Anyway, looking at the season as a whole, it was a good year. It was a very good year. If we look at the results, you can see we had some pretty memorable ones. The 5-1 win against Norwich was decent. The 4-4 draw against Arsenal, which I already talked about with Alex Samuel getting free, was incredible. All in all, we definitely performed beyond what I was expecting. If we look at the season preview, there we go. You can see we were predicted to finish 12th, and we have performed significantly better than that, which is, I guess, very pleasing, to say the least. Yeah, delighted with that, really. You look at the teams above us, we've performed well. Now we need to keep kind of the momentum going. Of course, as I mentioned, we have got a fair bit of transfer budget, so that's going to be something that I perhaps look to utilise. You can see, looking on the ins, there's a few players here who I'm in the process of signing. We'll give you a little sneak peek of what's to come next year. And here we have Soares, the Brazilian. Looks incredible. Looking forward to seeing what he might bring to the table. And he looks like he'll be a record transfer at 20 million should the deal go through. So stay tuned next episode, I guess, for that one. Anyway, looking at the club well, actually, let's start with my profile before we go into the club. So looking at my profile, you can see media handling is terrible because I just use my assistant. I know some people love the press conferences and they do have an impact on kind of what happens in the game. You know, you apply pressure to a specific player by singling them out as a weak link, they're more likely to make a mistake. But for me, I just find them a little bit tiresome, so I usually just don't use them. But you can see looking elsewhere, all pretty high, the bar charts. And then looking at the coaching stuff, you can see our tracksuit manager coming into his own now. You can see, looking at it all, we look quite competent, really. Looking at our history, you can see here, of course, the record signing was this year, Juan Carlos Leon. We've had 0 days on holiday. We have been in charge of the club for 2,877 days. It's been a long time. And a win percentage of 56% is not too shabby at all. Anyway, taking a look at the club stuff. Boom. Having a look here, you can see Aaron's going out for 9.5 million. I can't remember if I talked about that or the Denswell one, but they're two players who are probably going to be going out and raising us some decent funds. Right, what now? What now? General info, let's have a look at this. So, looking at it, we are a club legend. Cool to see Matthew Lewis, Alex Samuel and Nacho all part of the icons and favourite personnel. Looking at it, you can see we have a very determined squad. Season ticket sales are at 4,500. Of course, we are expanding our stadium. Unfortunately, however, the stadium completion date has been delayed until September. So that is not good one little bit. However, one thing that is quite good is the fact that our facilities are continuing to improve, so that's pretty pleasing. It's also worth noting that because we've not moved into our new stadium, and we won't be for a little while because it's been delayed, we're having to play our Euro Cup games next year at the American Express Stadium, which, yeah, not a fan of, but we have to do that. Rules are rules. In terms of affiliates, we don't have any affiliates. Maybe that's something I could look to do something about over the next few years. I think the next few years are really going to be about getting some stable European football. If we could go on a decent run in Europe next year, that'd be really good. So looking at my squad, one of my main worries next year is just our strength in depth. You can see, looking at the defenders, that's a concern. Defence has always been an issue that we've had, and just having a good defence. We've got some players with potential. Right, I would like to see play a bit more first team football over the next few years. But there's a lot of work to be done here. We need to get rid of some of these players who just aren't going to be playing for us. There's a few here that are around, and yeah, we've got to be looking really to get rid of them. Anyway, we'll just take a quick look at the best 11. I should point out last episode, people like, Jack, you showed the wrong best 11. Bit of an issue with these end of season reviews is that it shows the end of season team of the year for the previous year. You don't actually get the new team of the year until the following year. So I can't actually show you this year's, but I can show you last year's. So this was our team for our first year in the Premier League. Looking at the overall squad, here is the team that is considered our best 11. Matthew Lewis, the top goal scorer with a 1.33. What on earth am I on about? 133 goals scored. In terms of best average rating, yeah, it is Iki Nacho actually with a 7.55. He is doing very well for us. Craig Mullen in goal, Borthwick Jackson with Labour. Still sat at the club, not doing too much. If we look at right back, you can see Henry Muggeridge playing for Hereford. He's not developed like he could have done, but he had a good run in the club and he remains in our best 11. So anyway, I'm going to wrap things up there, guys. Again, I apologise for the fact that I lost the original recording of this episode. So there's going to be stuff that I've missed. There might be unanswered questions. There might be stuff I've covered that I cover again next episode. But yeah, I had to get this video up. I will try and get a Lewis video up later again today, so double upload, maybe even a triple tomorrow if you guys are feeling lucky. If you want to check out the FM League final, I have a link to Ben's Twitch channel down below. The stream starts at 6:30, matches start at 7. I'm going to upload a separate video anyway, so hopefully you'll check that out. And yeah, that wraps things up from me. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed regardless of the kind of scenario I found myself in. And hopefully I'll see you guys on the next one. It's me, Jack, and I'm out.